Hi everyone, and welcome back to the last episode of the Psyched to Be Back series by Dalhousie's Department of Psychology and Neuroscience. In case you've missed it, this is episode 3 in a 3-part series. So if you haven't already watched episodes 1 and 2, highly recommend that you go watch them. Some really great stuff, including Dr. Stam's infamous Sharpie Gate, so you'll want to watch that. Today, I'm actually here with Dr. Newman and Dr. Leanne Stevens. We're here to ask them some questions about stuff we're all wondering about with regards to coming back to campus in the fall. So, Dr. Newman, Dr. Stevens, thanks for being here with me today. Not a great day in terms of the weather outside, but thanks for being here anyway. So, I already know who the two of you are, so, but there are people out there who may not know you, so go ahead and introduce yourselves.
All right. Hi, I'm Aaron Newman. I am the chair of the Department of Psychology and Neuroscience, so I'm kind of in charge.
Kind of. Hi, I'm Leanne Stevens. I am the undergraduate program coordinator and am not in charge in any way. But also am instructing this year the labs for Psych 2000, the research methods class.
Yeah, and I do teach as well. I teach class in science, science innovation and commercialization, entrepreneurship, and then also the neural data science class in psychology and neuroscience.
Can I pitch my new class?
Yeah, go for it.
So I didn't know if this was all psych. So I also am teaching a brand new class this winter in science, similar to Aaron, called Science, Communicating Science to Non-Scientists, that I'm really excited about. So check that out.
Good class.
Check that out. Ernest is enrolled.
I'm also enrolled in neural data science, so there we go. Yeah. So I'm impartial to this one.
No bonus points.
So, well, now everyone knows what you do and who you are. And let's jump straight into some questions. First one actually comes from me, and I'm just wondering. It's been a very stressful year. A lot of things have happened since most of us have last seen you in person. So I'd like to know, how have you been? How have things been? How's the last year or so treated you?
I've actually done very well. I've been very lucky. Good family situation. We've had our ups and downs, but I have a good home office, and it's certainly been an adjustment. Really, really miss interacting with students and having those casual conversations and, getting to know people. But all things considered, I think we got through it pretty well.
Yeah, similar to Aaron, it took a little bit to get things set up at home, but I now have a pretty good groove, and also was really lucky in terms of family health. Everybody's double vaxxed now, so feeling really good about that. I've got 2 little kids, so that made things interesting throughout the year, but overall, definitely fared pretty well. Yeah.
So knowing all that, the ups and the downs, how excited would you say you are about being able to come back to in-person stuff?
I'm really excited. A little nervous. It's going to be weird. It's a big transition just to see people again, and the idea of potentially seeing people without masks. Mm-hmm. But overall, very excited. We've lost a lot. We've figured out what we can do well with the online teaching and learning, but there's just a lot that's so much easier to do in person. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah. Similarly, I'm really excited just to be able to see people in the hallways and make those connections. I've missed the connection with students a lot. It's been easy for faculty to connect with each other. We kind of ring each other up on Teams all the time, and we're able to communicate fairly well. But a lot of student interaction is informal. So, I've had a lot of success with online office hours and that kind of thing, but I really miss kind of just bumping into students in the hall and hearing about their lives and some of that more informal stuff. Not very many students, outside of Ernest maybe, book appointments with me just to chat. Yeah, exactly, just to talk. And so I miss that connection with students a lot. I'm really excited to see people in that capacity for sure.
So, a lot has changed over the last year or so, and in some sense we'll never return to how it was pre-March 2020. Some students are wondering, of course, how different will the classroom/lab experience be, when they do return in the fall? Will there be any discernible differences, any large-scale changes in any way that might affect them?
Yeah, in some ways, we don't know the full extent of everything, like, because we're not back either. So when we're back, we'll see some of those pieces. I mean, for the most part, we expect a lot of our in-person learning to kind of be really similar to what we had pre-COVID. In our case, in our department, we made a lot of choices about, you know, what might be the best way to accommodate the most number of students this year, but then going forward. We found there were a lot of things that worked really well in the online environment. And so we're excited to get back to in-person for a lot of our classes, but we do have more online offerings this year than we've ever had before. And we've heard a lot of positive feedback from students that really find that works well with their schedules, for their lives, and that kind of thing. And so we're excited to, this year, for the first time, have quite a range of classes that we'll be able to offer. So everything from fully in person, probably almost exactly what you would have experienced pre-COVID, blended, where we've got some online, some in-person aspects where you can kind of come in and do hands-on, some lectures online, and then all the way to fully online offerings, just to be as accommodating to as many students as possible. So I'm excited about that. I think there's some really neat things that have come together over the last year. So I think hopefully we'll have a little bit for everybody this coming year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I experienced it myself, having taken some of those classes. Well, all of my classes online in second year. Some of the classes like stats, like second year psych stats, worked really well online for me and for a lot of my peers as well. And it's one of those classes that we're like, well, you might as well just keep it online, because instead of having to memorize stuff, he would be able to give us like online models and then be able to just work with that, and it works so much better. So I think that the hybrid model might work quite well.
Yeah, I think that this last year really helped us experiment and really, sort of accelerated the technological change that universities had really kind of been slow to adopt, if not resisted. So I think, we've learned how to do some things better, and some things, especially if it's the kind of work that works well when you need to take your own time, right? And sort of not try and keep up with the pace of an instructor or a lecture, something like that. On the other hand, the things that you really need that hands-on experience, like the lab techniques, we're going to be back in person, and you're actually going to have that experience of, handling a pipette, handling a microscope, doing the neuroscience work. So that's really exciting. So I think, we're going to see really the best of both worlds in the coming year.
Yep, I'm sure students are excited about, especially labs, that quintessential lab hands-on experience. I think that's what got a lot of people excited.
Yeah.
I think faculty are excited about that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So on to the next question, and as you mentioned, there's some excitement about labs and all that. The main overall excitement is just, students are looking forward to being able to be back in person. But what are some things that, students can also look forward to in the upcoming year? Anything new?
We've got a lot of new classes this year that we're kind of excited about. Some classes launched last year, but some students might not be aware of them. So we've got a few new offerings. Sex and gender is one that we offered last year for the first time. With really high uptake in that. So much so actually that this year we're doubling it. So we've got a whole section that's in person and a whole section that's online, separate, so students can pick the one that works better for them. And we've got a few other classes kind of coming online. I've already pitched my science class, not psych, but it is kind of relevant to a lot of psych students. I'm trying to think of some of the other pieces that we might have coming online. Aaron, you might know of a few of them. We do have some initiatives that we're kind of, bringing online. We're working on a strategic plan right now for the department, and that involved surveying students and faculty and staff just to get a sense of what people are looking for in the department, where they see us now, where they'd like us to go. And something that's come out of that, as well as a lot of other conversations, focuses around equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so we are using that framework, I guess, to think about course offerings that we're bringing online, and we're hoping in the next few semesters, we'll say, to increase some of the offerings that hit those areas, and we're working with a number of course instructors to think about some of those things as well.
And since the start of the pandemic, there've also been some new additions to the department.
Yeah.
So like Dr. G. Weatherhead and Dr. Blay, and they've got some interesting classes as well.
Yes, that's true. So we've got with Dr. Blay, we've got criminal behavior, which is a brand new class. So we've made some changes with forensic psychology. We've shifted that to a 2000 level, and we've added criminal behavior. That seems to be a really big, popular class for students, so that filled up really quickly. Students are keen to do that. And with Drew, we've got a couple of classes online. We've got some new interesting seminars this year that we haven't had in the past, and so we're excited about those. We also have Dr. Natalie Stratton, who's joined us, and so she's teaching clinical psych now, and so we're offering that a couple of times to try and meet student demand. And that's something we've done actually. I know students are always, worried about getting into classes and the capacity, but we've doubled up a lot of our classes this year to try and make sure that we're able to get everybody in that's interested. And so some of those really high demand classes like experimental clinical and clinical psychology, personality, criminal behavior, all of those we've kind of increased or added capacity to.
And then on your side of things with sandboxes, Surge is up to a lot of interesting stuff, including the new LEAP program.
Yeah, that's right. So Surge is a program that's funded by the provincial government specifically to enhance our training around innovation, entrepreneurship, design thinking, even for people who don't think they want to start a company, but just want to, think about their options very broadly. So last year we introduced a new program called Access, which was run through all of the Dalhousie sandboxes, including agriculture, engineering, health, computer science, as well as Surge and science. And that was focused on developing innovative solutions for accessibility. This year with LEAP, what we're doing is adding a leadership component to that Access program. So we'll again run that Access program for students across all these different disciplines. But we're also going to be coaching student leaders, so each team will have a leader who's in the LEAP program who gets specific mentorship and training around the leadership aspect, managing a team, project management, and all that sort of stuff. So a really unique opportunity, especially for upper year students who might want to explore some more options and sort of build your CV, get that kind of experience that you wouldn't normally get just in a classroom setting.
Yeah, and Sandbox is open to all science students.
Yep, exactly.
Not just psychology or science.
Yep, across the entire Faculty of Science.
Wow. Anything else exciting on your end of things?
Yeah, I think the other thing, over the last year, we've really seen, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, but also this huge increased awareness and focus on social justice, Black Lives Matter, awareness of the traumas that Indigenous people have had to live through. And we've really taken that to heart in terms of thinking about how we can restructure our curriculum. So as Dr. Stevens said, over the next few semesters, you're going to see more and more of that coming into different aspects of the curriculum. And as well, we have an EDI committee that we founded last year. So they're going to be very active in making changes around the department, thinking both physical changes and policy changes. And as well, we're really trying to tackle some of the accessibility issues in the department, especially the fact that some of our profs' offices are not accessible to people with physical disabilities. So we have a new swing space, an office space that is accessible that profs can use to meet with students if necessary. And as well, we're renovating our elevator in the department to make it compliant with current standards for accessibility. So I think, overall, I'm really excited about these moves. I think it's really positive for the department, and I think it's really going to be a great change for students.
Yeah. Things are.
And I want to jump in too, because I'm involved at the first year level with a project that I'm really excited about, our open textbook for the intro psych class. And so last year during COVID, we launched the open textbook. So essentially making the textbook free to all of our intro psych students and hopefully saving a decent amount of money. But because it's open, it lets us edit the book in real time. And so we've tried to kind of leverage that flexibility with that book to bring in people with lived experience and strong backgrounds in psychology and neuroscience to help us add content and edit the content that's already there to better reflect our student population and better reflect the true history of kind of how we got to where we are, and so acknowledge injustices and also contributions from people that have previously been kind of excluded from many of those textbooks. So Dr. Stamp and I have been working on that with a slew of amazing students, current and former students, and we're really excited about some of the changes we've been making and starting that focus around equity and justice and diversity and inclusion at the beginning of our program, and kind of then hopefully weaving it throughout the next several years for our students.
Lots of exciting things on the horizon for the upcoming year. So one big thing that a lot of students have talked about, and it's something they've really missed out on over the past year, has been the ability to volunteer or work or do projects in research labs due to restrictions, which made it very hard for profs to have the ability to take students in. Is that something that will go back to normal come fall?
Do you want to take the first crack at that?
Yeah, definitely. It's been really hard, as somebody who runs a lab and a very inclusive lab, so I tend not to turn people away. If people want to volunteer in the lab, we try and accommodate them and find ways to engage them. But this year with the lab being closed, we had very few studies going on. They were online studies, so there wasn't really a lot of work for volunteers. We're starting to see that change even this summer, sort of finding more online tasks for volunteers. But definitely in the fall, I think you're going to see most of the labs are going to be reopened, and those opportunities will be there again. And that's really, really important for students, as early as even second year, volunteering in labs and getting that hands-on lab experience, kicking the tires, trying out different labs, right? Figure out what resonates and what really doesn't. I think that's a really key part of the experience, and something we really, really encourage here in our department at Dal. So I think, feeling really positive about the direction that's going.
Yeah, and I would just want to encourage students, I guess, that have felt a bit discouraged over the last year, if they feel like they've been missing out on some of those things, to, even if you've talked to people or you haven't heard a response from people. I know people's inboxes were, more full this year than they typically have been. But I would just say, go back and chat with those people again and touch base again in September when things are back and everyone has a better sense of kind of where they are in their labs, because I think there, like Aaron said, there will be additional opportunities. And so don't necessarily use, if you've been turned away over this year, a lot will be changing as we go through into September and beyond. So, try not to be too discouraged about that.
Yeah, and it's been hard for faculty as well, because a lot of us have not known when we could reopen our labs and at what point, reopening a lab, especially if you're doing human research, when could we actually invite other people from, the Dalhousie community or the outside world back into our labs to do research. So I think a lot of people have really been sort of waiting, but come September, I think you're going to see that really thaw and open up again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be very welcome news for a lot of students. And certainly a topic that is very much still relevant is what remains of COVID-19. And so for students who are maybe a little bit concerned about the return to campus in fall, is there any message for them? Anything you'd like them to know about them being back on campus and being safe?
Yeah, I think the key message is take your time. It's going to be weird. Be ready for that. I think a lot of us are excited to be back in person. Some of us are maybe more nervous. Even the ones who are excited, it's one thing to be excited about coming back, and another thing to, then have all the anxiety around what's that actually going to be like, and how do I make small talk, and like all the, social awkwardness may be ramped up. So I think really we all just have to be, forgiving of others and ourselves, patient, and really accepting that this is going to be another, even though it feels like we're going back to normal, it's a new normal, and it's going to be another transition, and we just have to be ready for that. At the same time, I think we're in a good place. Vaccination rates are high. We really encourage everybody to get vaccinated, and I think you're going to see, increased sort of sensitivity to hygiene. Right, maybe wear a mask if you've got the sniffles or not feeling well, or stay home, because now you can do a lot more online. So yeah, I think it'll be a transition, but I think overall positive if we just are patient and considerate of others.
Yeah, and I think too, going back to the idea that we are offering more courses online this year and blended models, hopefully for students who prefer the online world, we've got, enough classes there that can satisfy some of that interest as well. And so if they are, feeling a little bit uncomfortable, there are options there that maybe could at least reduce some of the time that they're coming to campus if that works better for them. And so our hope with all of the things that we've got is that the people who are keen to be here right away have that opportunity, and then exactly, and then people who would like to take a little bit more time, we do have options for them as well. So I think again, to echo what Aaron said, to kind of be patient and kind with each other and with yourself, especially even if you think you're really excited and you jump back into it and then things are a little bit uncomfortable. That's totally expected, I think, for many people.
That's great. So just finally, last question, just in general, is there anything you'd like students to know about? Is there anything you'd like to say to students about just being able to come back in the fall, about your return to campus in the fall?
I mean, we're really excited, I think. We're nervous, we're excited. We've got all kinds of emotions connected to this. I haven't been in my office in a year and a half. I'm excited, not necessarily for the ambiance of my current office, but I'm excited to be back and see people. I think it's going to be different for all of us, but it'll be interesting. And so I think we'll all go through this together. So it'll be an interesting semester. Yeah.
Yeah, I echo what Dr. Stevens said, and I think I'm psyched to be back.
There we go.
Oh, one last thing,
Yeah.
because I know we're episode 3, I think, and so on one of the earlier episodes, you were kind of navigating the exciting maze that is our department. Episode 2, so check that out. But in addition to checking that out, you may want to visit the department ahead of, or not just the department, but the building as a whole, campus as well, if you can, before classes start, just to get a sense of where your classrooms are. We may have some people around who are able to kind of redirect you, but pre-COVID, that was always the number one thing on the first week of classes, involved lost students. So it's a good idea to just kind of check things out and see where you're headed, just to reduce some of that, first day jitters. If you know where you're headed, can be helpful.
Yeah, and we're expecting the building will be unlocked on August 16th. And so you can actually get in and tour.
Check it
at
out,
that point.
Pop around,
Well, that's it from us here today. Thanks for sticking with us through our conversation. Thank you to Dr. Newman and Dr. Stevens for joining us today. And thanks to you for watching our mini-series. We hope that we've been able to give you some answers to your burning questions over the last few days.
Yeah, and we're really looking forward to welcoming you all back to campus.
Yeah, we're really excited to see you in person. We can't wait for September.
And of course, we're psyched to be back. Thanks for watching, everyone.